Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Whiskey Congress is back in session. Stephen and I are together on a beautiful sunny day in Cleveland, Ohio. One day away from being in the path of an eclipse, where we will have the, what do they call it? The total
eclipse of the heart.
No, that's not what it is. Anyway, are you going to do anything for it? I'll be flying out tonight, so I won't even have a chance.
I don't. What do you mean? Well, okay, so first of all, no.
Path of totality is what I meant to say.
I don't know anything about the eclipse. I'm sure this will be a real nice time, but I don't care. But I'm being forced to care because people are being weird about this.
Oh, yeah.
Like Sarah Huckabee Sanders called a state of emergency in Arkansas.
I saw that.
Have we not?
But did you hear why?
No.
There's going to be so much traffic that we need to make sure our infrastructure can handle all the... I'm like, that's a state of emergency?
Jesus Christ. There are people here in the Cleveland area, like out in Avon, that are like selling parking on just an average-ass suburban street because they think that the streets are going to be filled with people trying to see it. I think it's...
And they probably will, by the way.
I guess. I don't know. I have no idea what to... I feel like we've had this before, right? Haven't there been...
This is a total eclipse, and
I feel like there were... Didn't we... When does it happen? Every 10, 15 years? Something
20,
like that?
I think, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was a big deal. I don't know. It's just weird what it's doing because you've got, people going crazy buying the glasses, buy the glasses, definitely. You definitely don't want to look at it and not have them and cook your retinas. But, just the it's not so much the people planning events around it. It's the sort of the politicization of it, and then you've got your conspiracy theorists, right, that are using the sort of political way, the way this has been politicized, to push these conspiracy theories. Like everybody's talking about the eclipse right now. What is the government hiding? What are they going to be doing? Right, whatever happens on the eclipse, just know that the government knew and they were planning for this. Come on. You think the government is, they have the ability to control the pattern of the sun? Come on.
If they do, then it's time to just surrender and say they win. I mean, Alex Jones has some theory that NASA apparently is sending up some, rockets with sensors that are supposed to measure something or whatever.
But they probably are. That's the thing. They are probably sending up some sort of weather sensor to figure out what impact it has on
Sure.
Okay.
They get a chance every 20 years or 10 years, whatever. So yes, but Alex Jones is saying that they're doing some. And I will be honest, I listened to this getting talked about, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But that they were trying to reenact some Egyptian ritual. So the New World Order is using Egyptian rituals, which is not the New World Order, I don't think.
Right, it ain't new if it's Egyptian, my friend.
That's the old World Order, if there ever was one.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get under this idea that there's this overarching, controlling body of super rich, wealthy people that are pulling all the strings, right? I get you've got your oligarchs and your very rich families, but we're not a smart people overall. Not just Americans.
No, you're right.
We're not that smart. We're just not, right? We've got these movies, right, where whether it's a James Bond movie or John Wick or you think there's the High Table or Fast and the Furious where there's some super mega rich we're just not that smart. We're creative, but there's nobody at the top that's pulling all the strings, that's controlling the CIA and manipulating markets and all. It's we're very selfish We're very bad at keeping secrets literally as a human race.
Yes.
We're terrible at these things. And we're greedy. And so,
and self-absorbed. So.
Right. So, you don't, there's no one that's controlling all that, right? Like, there are people who have influence, and ultimately we're, I think, driven, right, by, like, a lot of things that we do are driven by these very rich corporations and the people at the helm of them, right? They're able to lobby to get certain things to go their way, but in terms of these conspiracy theories that are, that have the deep state,
right,
having everybody paying attention to Diddy so that they can do something in the background, right? We don't have Sean Puffy Diddy Combs on the board, but we should talk about him and whatever the fuck is going on there. But anyway, so with the Eclipse, I don't know if I don't have anything planned for it. I was invited to a rooftop party. Now, tomorrow is opening day for the Cleveland Guardians. So I'm still holding out hope that I can maybe get a ticket to go to the game. But if not, then I don't know. Maybe I'll go to this rooftop thing. Maybe or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'll be traveling today.
I will avoid
tomorrow.
it out of spite, just because people are stupid.
You being spiteful, that seems unlike you. All right, before we get into more domestic stuff, the war in Israel, war in Gaza, hit just a different level of awful this week when volunteers from the World Central Kitchen were killed in, I'm going to say in an airstrike, but I've heard this, and I don't know if you've heard the same thing. I'd be curious if you had. And we've said multiple times that you need to be at least a bit cautious in general when you're getting news, but especially coming out of a place where there's so much misinformation on both sides. But what I heard was that these World Central Kitchen workers were trying to get food to people who are starving to death. They were in a vehicle that was clearly marked as an aid vehicle. They got shot at. People fled that vehicle to another one, which was shot at. And then a third one was shot at, and ultimately these 7 people were killed. Did you hear the same thing?
Yeah, about
multiple strikes. Like, and Israel's come out and said it's a fog of war mistake. We thought they were Hamas gunmen. Look, we talk about what
seems like there's a lot of those going on over there.
It does.
Right?
It does. And
it's just like, so anybody running, you are now assuming is a Hamas gunman, because that's what it sounds like. And I don't even know, I still don't have a good explanation on how they killed the little girl in the car, right? I mean, we know exactly what happened, but, you still have the Israeli hostages that escaped that were naked running down the street that they shot and killed.
Yep.
Right?
But to me, this is even next level, because this was not, you can't justify this on oops, we made a mistake once. They clearly came back 2 more times. Well, I should say clearly. I want to know if I'm getting information.
I'll say this. This does not trump the killing of Israeli hostages. Here's the thing with the reason why, the Israeli hostages, remember, those were Israeli soldiers, and those people that were killed were Israel. They were from Israel. They were Jewish. They were Israelis. They had escaped Hamas. They were naked. They were running down the street, waving the T-shirt, white flag, right? International symbol of "Don't shoot me," right? Yep. Not shoot me more,
right?
Right? You got a naked person going down the street, waving something white. Every soldier in the world should know, that's a sign that you don't shoot that person, right? Now, if they would have ran up to him, said, "We don't know who and what you are," and then they threw him in cuffs, and then they figured it out later. All right, that sucks, but it's war. I get it, but they killed them. Right,
or just tell them stop, put your hands in the air.
Now this situation, I agree this is bad because the cars were marked World Central Kitchen aid, we're helping, but they're cars and Hamas does some shady shit. So I'm not giving them a pass, but to me, if we're ranking the terrible things that the IDF has done over the last few months that we know of, I still have the killing of the Israeli hostages as the top of my list, and the little girl in the car that they blew up is a very, very it's like 1A and 1B. And again, once you start involving cars and vehicles, that gives the IDF a little bit of cover because of the history of using cars and vehicles and car bombs and all that other stuff. But it's still all egregious, atrocious, awful, right? And so, I mean, but this is right up there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just like so instead of just shooting and killing people, like, go can you capture them?
Well, this is an airstrike on a car.
Well, yeah. Right, exactly.
And
exactly.
3 of them.
Right.
On 3 cars. So, and you know, it's easy for people to criticize America for the stuff we've done in the past. We've done some really awful things. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, we get attacked on 9/11 and we invaded Iraq, who had nothing to do with 9/11.
I mean, you don't even have to go that far with some of the shit that we've done, right? I mean, we've done some pretty terrible shit in not the too distant past, with some of our own airstrikes and drone strikes. Look, I have no issue saying, like, look, we have done plenty of fucked up shit, but we should be called out for it. And I'm sorry, just because we've done fucked up shit doesn't mean that Israel shouldn't be called out for the fucked up shit that they've done. Call America out for the bullshit that they've done. We should own it, and there should be a consequence or a price to pay for it. But that doesn't absolve Israel from what the fuck that they're doing over there. Fuck you, Israel, telling, oh, America has no right to... No, I've got every right to... I'm watching you fucking murder people in real time. So I'm going to fucking tell you to stop doing that. I don't care if it's the Torah, I don't care if it's the Bible, the Quran, or whatever religious thing that you're holding up. They all say if you're watching a person kill somebody in cold fucking blood, you probably want to get them to stop doing that. And that is what is happening over there. So don't give me any shit about what the fuck America's done. We are a big bad bully, we're fucking awful, and we've done some terrible shit. But that doesn't stop me from telling you to stop doing it in front of my fucking face. I'll deal with my country and our bullshit, but I'm watching you kill these innocent people because you're the fucking savage at this point. You're the animal that's been let out of the cage. You're the one who needs to be stopped from what you're doing right now. You need to be saved from yourself because you're turning into the very fucking evil that you said Hamas was this whole time. And it's turning out to be you. And this isn't me being an anti-Semite. This has nothing to do with your religion. This has nothing to do with your history as a people and the things that you've been through. You're angry, and so you've decided to lash out and be the absolute fucking villain that you have accused every Muslim country around you of being, which is your defense for having the Iron Dome and all these weapons and all this money pumped into you, and now you've turned into the fucking monster. You're the monster.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say that you can say whatever you want about what we've done. There's plenty of criticism, but don't tell me Netanyahu isn't a war criminal.
Right.
I mean, and I mean literally, like, the international community should step in and say, you don't get to play this game anymore now.
Right.
And I don't know how that works because we're in uncharted territory.
No, and if people want, well, George W. Bush, I don't give a fuck about George W. Bush right now. Fine, he is too.
Yes, he is.
Right,
Cheney
he is too.
War criminal.
Right, and Cheney and all of them, but those guys don't make decisions. Those guys don't get to make decisions anymore. Netanyahu is doing this shit right now in real time.
Yes, and we have every right to be outraged, even if like that's exactly where I was going when I started on this. Is you could point the finger at us, and you've got some valid points.
You're right,
no doubt about it. That doesn't mean it's the whole. If Harvey Weinstein calls Bill Cosby a rapist, okay, you're both fucking rapists.
Right.
One of you isn't right because of the other one. So yeah. And I literally think that I don't know if it's Interpol. I don't know what UN. I don't know what organization can and should step in and just say enough is enough. Bibi, you don't get to play this game anymore. Israel, we're calling a ceasefire for you, and you know, like you said, this is not anti-Jew, and it's not. What infuriates, one of the many things that infuriate me, is that people react to Jewish citizens in the United States or in Israel and say, you're doing this. No, you're not. Their government is. And their government can and needs to be stopped.
Yeah. I mean, it the whole anti-Semitism thing is now just a cheap, sort of, I don't know, red herring or defense tactic or whatever you want to say. It's just like, oh, you're criticizing us, you're being anti-Semitic, right? Like, you're murdering people, you're being anti-good human.
Right, and the October 7th attack was a horrific event, no doubt about it. But now you're starving civilians to death. You are bombing people trying to stop people from starving citizens. You're seeing escaped hostages run saying, hey, we're safe, great to see you, and getting shot where they stand.
Yeah, I mean, and I will even, like, something I heard the other day was, like, if you take the percentage of Israelis that were killed, murdered, raped, beat on October 7th, and you did that now, it would be like something like 50,000 U.S. citizens.
Americans, yeah.
So 50,000 Americans were killed. Then what would you say? What I would say is, President of the United States, stop murdering innocent people. You're not going to sit there and wipe out innocent people, like, blatantly and obviously, right? Yeah. You don't go and kill innocent hostages that are running naked down the street waving a white flag. You don't kill a 6-year-old baby girl in a car whose whole family is dead around her, and then you blow the fucking car up, and then you blow the ambulance coming up that's coming to save her.
I forgot about the ambulance, jeez.
Right? You don't sit there and you blow up people working in a food kitchen trying to get food to the people that are starving, right? Because what that tells me is you want these people to die so bad that you want to even kill the people that are trying to help them, right? You're not you're not differentiating between Hamas, the terrorists, and the people of Gaza, the innocent civilians that are caught in the middle of this thing. You are just blanketly saying that if you are over there, even if you may be Israeli, we're just going to assume that you're Hamas and we're killing everybody. You cannot convince me that they don't want to see all these people dead. And I'm sorry, I don't care if you kill 50,000, 100,000, 1 million Americans. You don't go and slaughter innocent people to get revenge for it.
Right.
You just don't. No, I'm sorry.
Yep. I don't know why you're saying you're sorry. All right, let's jump to domestic stuff. Trump's doing all kinds of Trumpy stuff. He's hawking a $2 Trump commemorative bill that features his mugshot. I was watching Newsmax, and the mistake I want to hear what's getting said. And this is hilarious.
Don't need to. Here's the thing, though. I call bullshit on that. You know what's being said on Newsmax. You don't need to fucking. They're not saying. No, there's nothing. In real time. I don't. There's not. Listen, the ship has sailed. Like, they are not. They are so intellectually dishonest that at this point, watching, giving them viewership, engagement on social media with it, like it's now it's no longer. Look, I want to get my information from multiple sources so that I could check it. Like that, it's one thing, if you're even Fox News to this point, it's just so bad that the intellectual value to me is gone. They're so intellectually dishonest at this point with what they're saying that it's just there's no value to it.
This is maybe an ego thing for me, but I'd like to be honestly able to tell people when they come up to me and go, well, you just listen to MSNBC. Oh, no. I watch the shit you're watching. And I find it comical how you can sit there and not think this is a cartoon. It is absolutely amazing. You're right. It's intellectually dishonest. There's no attempt to even make it a logical point. And seeing what's getting advertised I remember you showing me the Trumpy Bear 5 years ago, whatever it was, and thinking you were pranking me.
Nope.
And you were not. Nope. And now he's selling Bibles with the Constitution attached. He's selling
Bibles with the Constitution attached with American flag imprinted on the leather on the front. His endorsement inside like a Bible.
Yeah.
Right. And, oh, by the way, the evangelical crowd, no issue with him taking a Bible, putting his name image, likeness, all over it, all that other stuff, and then selling it.
Yeah.
Right?
And $60, by the way.
Right. I mean, it's just like, and that's where the whole evangelical, they lost credibility a long time ago.
Yeah.
In my book, your Joel Osteens and your Billy Grahams and all those,
Falwell and
Falwell and Pat Robertson,
and
all that. Although Pat Robertson does hold a special place in my heart because of his 2,000-pound leg press.
All right, so people who don't know this, he actually did a video of him leg pressing 2,000 pounds by literally moving.
First of all, he didn't leg press anything.
There's that.
But I mean, look, for his age, it was. I mean, at least he still was getting in the wagon. But my point is that the legitimacy or whatever with that group to me has been long gone. There's a show on HBO, The Righteous Gemstones, that makes fun of.
I need to watch that.
You should, because it makes fun of the hypocrisy of these evangelicals in so many different ways. And so I don't put a lot of. I thought there was a time where I thought there was value, especially with the rise of Trump, to be able to get a real time sense of what was happening, because you could feel a palpable shift in the way our body politic was operating. And I tried to ring the alarm on that, right? I'm like, guys, there's something different. And people poo-pooed me. You're crazy. It's Hillary all the way. No one's going to take this guy seriously, until they did, right? And then all of a sudden, he's going into the White House, and Hillary's just sitting there, and now she's just a fucking grandma, right?
Right. And you just go a step farther and say, if I'm out because they cheated, and the only way, I mean, now the whole democratic process is at risk, and he's literally saying, I'm going to use the White House to get revenge on the people who've wronged me. I mean, fuck's sake. How is that not an alarm bell? But it's not.
It's not. I mean, and because here's the thing. For me, it's, you dig into this, they've got this, I think it's called the Project 2025, right? And it's the transition plan for Trump, or, they say whatever the next conservative president, that they predict will be, brought into the White House in this election that's coming up. And you look at what they are planning to do. I mean, they literally are trying to convert the country to a Christian fascist state, where basically there's no possibility where a Democrat could win again, right? And it's just like, and it's scary to see some of this shit written out, and how you have to go about getting like the actual brass tacks and details. It's not like it's just a plan that they put out. Like, you have to sign up, and then they'll send you the book and all this other stuff. So, your name gets put on a list, and then you start getting all these emails, and you're like, what the fuck? And you can see how they're trying to do it, right? Like, I mean, they literally are constantly hitting your inbox and trying to brainwash you into thinking that this makes perfect sense, and this is the only thing that's going to save the country. And yeah, I mean, Biden's on the way to destroying the country. We told you he was going to destroy the country back in 2020, right? And he hasn't quite destroyed it yet. He just needs more time. So we have to stop him, because his next 4 years, if he gets in, then everything is lost, right? Everything's going to be lost if we let Biden win again. So you have to put us in, and then we'll make sure that no more Democrats ever get in, right? We'll make sure that we ban all forms of abortion. We'll get rid of all forms of birth control. We will
make embryos get treated like people. We will.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's an actual laundry list of things that they want to get rid of, change. Eliminating the FBI, eliminating the Department of Education, eliminating the IRS. It's just look. They are literally putting us at risk and gaslighting us by saying, "Well, you're putting everybody at risk."
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally ripping up the Constitution, meanwhile saying, you don't respect the Constitution. Like, you are setting it on fire. What do you mean I don't respect it?
Right.
But
I put it in my Bible for sale, so therefore I respect the...
Right.
Even though the Constitution would just explicitly not want to be associated with a religion. But
right, with the Bible. But, and it's blatantly obvious what they're doing. And I think so many people on that side, they know that Trump is full of shit. They know, but to them, they feel that, look, if this works, then I'll be in a position of power that'll be unparalleled and unmatched to anything I could have done had I just stayed with the status quo. So they're taking the big swing on essentially destroying our country, right, and coming out on the other side and being with, Cobra Commander and the Decepticons, and they're willing to sell their soul for it. They've already done it. They're fine. Yeah. They're bought in. It's not that it's not even stupidity with some of these people. They know exactly what they're doing. They're just taking the gamble. That now, look, the lower level people, but I'm talking about
educated people who actually believe that Biden's goal is to destroy this country, and they get that shit from things like Newsmax, which is why I watch it. Now, again, I don't sit down there and I'm not glued to it. I don't need to watch. I feel like there's not a topic that we could talk about where if you said, what did they say on Newsmax, that I couldn't tell you almost word for word what they said about that topic on Newsmax. No,
I don't need to watch it at this point.
You're probably right. Again, I just do it so I can honestly say to people when they say, you just watch yours. No, I don't.
I mean, because you can, it's so easy. You literally just take, all right, what's the dumbest thing somebody could say about this particular, right? What's the most nonsensical,
pro-Trump,
and you start to fill in the pieces as it relates to Trump. Where does this fall on the conservative spectrum, whatever? And you know exactly what they're saying, right? And because it's nonsense, and the script is easy at this point to figure out, which is why they're all doing it and they can all follow it.
Yeah, but there's certain things that I'm like, wow, did they really go there? And that does happen
like what?
Well, I'll tell you the most recent one that was I had no idea that there was a conspiracy that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift was a deep state plot to do whatever the fuck it was. I had no idea that was an issue until I talked to some right wingers and then watched. So things like that.
But I mean, you didn't.
It's dumb. I'm not denying that.
Right, but I mean, I guess one, what's the. So now you know,
right?
What's the value, right? What's the value of getting that information directly from Newsmax, right? Because all right, now you have that info, which you could have got. You look at Twitter for 30 seconds and
I don't spend much time on Twitter,
right? Or any form of social media or whatever, and you could have found that. And then, so now that you have it, you've heard it from them. Now what?
Again, the only social media I really use is Facebook, which is very much personalized. So I don't see the shit on Twitter that you do. So, okay, that's our different ways of saying, here's what's going on.
Yeah, I just, because here's the thing. I could scroll by, I could see it on Twitter, right? So I open it up, and there's a tweet here talking about Kristi Noem being selected as Trump's vice president, right?
Okay.
So I could look at this and read it, get most of what it is, and scroll by it, and that's not the level of engagement that's going to enhance that tweet and the algorithm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think I'm personally feeding news.
No,
I think I'm a huge minority.
What I'm saying is just that, I'm at a point where I don't want to put any sort of oxygen in their flames, right? And another thing we could talk about too, a perfect example. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So he comes out and he says, you know what? I made an endorsement of Biden in 2020, and that was a mistake, so I'm not endorsing anybody going into 2024. Now, that's pretty straightforward, right? And it's somewhat paraphrasing what he said, but that's what he said, right? But now, Fox, Newsmax, everybody, they're celebrating it. Dwayne Johnson regretting his endorsement of Biden because Biden's a terrible president and Hunter Biden, right? And then the people on the left are, The Rock has abandoned us. How dare he not support Biden, and how dare he turn and support Trump? He didn't say any of that. All he said was, I'm not going to come out and make an endorsement because you people politicize every fucking thing, and everyone tried to use that for their own advantage. Right?
Yeah.
Now he stepped in it again because he came out and said he wasn't going to make an endorsement. Now people are turning it into they're
endorsing Trump,
right? Like they're manipulating it anyway, right? Now Taylor Swift, they tried to pull her into that same very thing, right? And what did I tell you she was going to do? Exactly what she's done. Nothing. Right? Why? Because no matter what she did, if she were to come out, endorse Biden, or say she wasn't going to endorse anybody or whatever, then it was going to be a firestorm. So she said nothing, right? The only thing she did say was, hey, everybody vote with your heart. That's it.
Yep.
Right? And then, and that was it, right? And people are just like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like assholes were tight because they wanted to say something, but like nobody was buying. Like even the MAGA people are like, all right, all she said was just vote. Like, what are you gonna do? But and this is a big misstep by The Rock. And I get why he did it. He was kind of put on the spot. He's doing WrestleMania. He does the interview. He's making his rounds around the interview people. So he's a guy that doesn't want to upset anybody. So he's going to go on Fox and MSNBC and CBS and all that stuff. He's got a league to promote, right? UFL. We were watching earlier on ESPN and everything. So he's going to talk to everybody, right? So he's a guy who's going to try to go out and try to be as little disruptive as possible. This is where he could have taken a lesson from Taylor, right? He should have dodged the whole endorsement question altogether, right?
If you're dealing with a WWE crowd, I mean, we've seen what a UFC crowd looks like. I would imagine WWE leans even further that way.
No, WWE is pretty diverse. You could talk WWE in a black barber shop. You can talk wrestling. You can talk WrestleMania. You can go anywhere
can
and
you talk UFC in a black barber shop?
Not the same as you could talk WWE.
Okay.
Not the same that you could talk wrestling. I mean, my grandmother loved wrestling, right? My Nana, who's still alive, alive and kicking at 84 years old. She doesn't watch as much as she used to, but she's not watching basketball, or if she's not watching the Cavs, if she's not watching the Guardians. You can go over to her house and catch her watching, Thursday Night Raw.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just like wrestling's a little bit different, and so it's not
true entertainment.
Yeah,
I mean,
right? Like
it's almost a soap opera with just really.
That's exactly what it is. It's not almost. It is a soap opera, right? Like, I mean, and you get all sorts of people that are into wrestling, and it's just a way more diverse crowd, which is why you get superstars like The Rock, right?
Sure.
Who is this guy who appeals to a broad crowd, right? I mean, so I think he stepped in it because he's trying to appeal to everybody. Doesn't want to upset anyone. Doesn't want to upset anyone. So he goes in trying to think that, all right, I'll say this thing that kind of lets everybody know that I'm neutral and I'm trying to save face from last time, and then he steps right in it again. Because whenever you try to appease everybody, you ultimately end up appeasing no one. Right. So
especially in this climate where it's like,
right.
You're not
I can't remember the interview if he was asked about the endorsement or if he brought it up. Like the clips, because I didn't see the interview live and I didn't see the entire thing. So the clips, it looks like he brought it up, but it was also stated in a way he could have been asked.
It's really easy to show things in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, like if my concern is that he went in and tried to just smooth things over and say, hey, I'm not going to endorse anybody, and then he still steps in this firestorm. If they asked him about it, that makes it a little bit tougher for him to avoid it, and he still ends up stepping in it. So, I don't know. But
all right, sticking with Trump for 1 minute, he took Truth Social public, and it has not gone well. So I don't know what was initial.
Yeah, so last week it goes public. It peaks at I think $83 a share, and then retracted relatively early. With it being made public down to like 70, and then it retracted again down to like the mid 50s, and then it closed this week at $40 a share. And look, when this first broke, we told you, be careful putting your money into this. Taking the name Donald J. Trump away from it, right, and just looking at it as like do pure stock analysis, looking at your fundamentals. looking at sentiment, looking at how the company operates, right? They don't make money.
They lost $56 million.
Right. I think it was $58 million that they lost. They had $4 million in revenue. Do the math. That's not good. Right? What is their thing that they sell? What's their widget? What's the problem that they fix? Right? And then once you start looking at that, once you start analyzing a stock based on, will this make me money? Right? Do I want to take my money, hard-earned money, and put it into this thing, hoping that it appreciates in value? You have to start to look at how that particular thing that you're going to put your money in operates. And when you just look at how DJT operates, what its assets are, what its liabilities are, what, you know what I mean, like the different things that are holding it back, then no one in their right mind would invest in this thinking that it's going to appreciate, beyond a certain point, right? Like, I mean, you may get it to sort of ride a wave of Donald Trump's sort of political momentum, but that is a terrible way to decide how you're going to invest in a stock, right? Yeah. And how you're going to invest your money. So if you're just being a smart financial analyst,
but if you're buying commemorative $2 bills for $20 that have no actual cash value and $60 golden Bibles, you're probably not the most savvy investor.
Well, you're right. But the thing is, though, you have people who are savvy investors, people who have been doing this, that, are trying to manipulate it, but they can only do so much for so long, right? And I think what you saw was there were people who were in the market who supported Donald Trump and tried to do like another AMC, another GameStop sort of thing where they, or GameStop stock sort of situation where they artificially inflate it up and just like, if we all do it, then, we can all get rich off of it sort of deal. Except they didn't have nearly the same success as they did with AMC and GameStop because you just didn't have the same sort of support, right? And you didn't have the same sort of network and you didn't have the same sort of ingenuity. And you also tried to just basically pull a fast one to pump money into Donald Trump, right? And we'll see how much he ends up being able to cash out himself. The other weird thing about this is that it's actually, it's really tough to short this stock right now.
I was going to ask about that. I was going to wait till the show was over. Like, can I short this? Because...
Well, here's the deal. There's not a ton of actual stock available. Okay? So in order to short the stock, you would basically need to have some borrowing power within the market. And right now, essentially, the charge or the interest rate on borrowing the necessary stock to be able to short it is like 500%. Right? Because there was never a ton of stock out there to begin with, right? Because they didn't want to overly dilute it for obvious reasons, right?
Right. I was thinking more about buying put options.
Right. But in order to do that, like you need to have the stock available, available in order to do it, and you can't. So it's not. It's an interesting sort of deal here, right? And it'll be really interesting to see the direction. Does the stock stay at 40 this week? Does it sort of pick up? Is this sort of the basement, or does it go down further? Right? Because they get a real problem if we're at the same time next week and that stock is at $30.
Yeah,
right? And I suspect once it breaks below 30, it's going to keep crashing. So the Tim Pools out there from the Timcast and all the conservative Elon Musk, all the people who bragged about how much stock they were buying as it was when they were grabbing it at $50, $60, $70, like.
Well, Elon Musk...
You're going to be holding on to those stocks?
Elon Musk can say and do what he wants financially, and it's not going to impact him.
Well,
Tim Pool probably has a lot more to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that stock as it bottoms out, because who are they going to blame then? Who was weaponized against Trump at that point when that stock bottoms out at, goes back down to single digits?
Yeah, and this does. The one thing I want to say though is
Joe Biden weaponized the SEC against
us.
Right.
Well, no, the problem. See, that's on Newsmax. I forgot what I was going to say, but basically, will anyone hold Trump accountable for what is essentially a pump and dump? And we've seen that accountability is not something his followers tend to
give any shits about.
Right. All right. Do we want to mention the fact that there are Republicans out there saying we should change Dulles Airport to Trump Airport?
No, it's stupid.
All right,
I mean,
you agree.
It's
good. I put it on there. I know.
Yeah,
but
nobody.
Actually, you put that on there.
What's that?
You put that on there.
I didn't put the Trump Airport thing on there.
Sure, you did. Because it's next to the stock thing, which I didn't put on there.
I added the stock. You had the Trump Airport thing.
Okay.
I erased it.
Okay.
Add the stock thing, and then you wanted the airport thing on there, so I put it back.
All right. Inside baseball. Did you hear about Judd Blevins? Do you know who Judd Blevins is?
I do, but I'm cheating because it says Oklahoma neo-Nazi.
So he was a city councilman in a very Republican district in Oklahoma, and this is one of the times where activism actually did something positive. So he gets revealed as someone who is a Christian nationalist, which he's denied, but there's video of him in Charlottesville chanting, "Jews will not replace us." And so they ran this guy out of his position as a city councilman, again, in a very Republican district. And my initial thought is, he's a city councilman in Oklahoma. Who gives a shit? But it does give me a little bit of a positive feeling that they would say, okay, this is not acceptable. And the idea that a city council member isn't important is kind of dismissive because they impact things on a local level that, and sure, the Oklahoma, whatever the hell, city council does not impact you and I here in Cleveland, but there are people who he could impact. And if he becomes the majority, people of his mindset become the majority, really bad shit could happen. And bad shit does. Politics is local is a cliche that has some value.
Look, local politics have a huge impact on your day-to-day, right? I mean,
sure.
Everything from how much money comes out of your paycheck when you're talking about taxes and levies to, how your kids are taught in school to, how your sewer lines get maintained, and your streets getting done and bridges being fixed and rebuilt and all the shit that we see going on around us is all funded by, the state and local politics, and you need to vote so you've got the right people that are in control of these things, right? It does matter. Your local politics are going to have more influence on your day-to-day life, and also they're going to have a big impact on national politics, right? These mayors have influence up the chain, and these cities and the states and even the feds are taking guidance from what's happening on the ground, right? In Middle America and on the street. And a lot of that is coming from your local government, your state government. And so it's important that you pay attention to who you put into these offices. These are the people, right, in some places you vote for your police chief, you vote for your superintendent or director of school or whatever it might be. You're voting for judges, right? These are if you're voting for a judge and then you end up in front of that judge for one reason or another, you'd like to think that the person that you voted for, right, is going to be fair and objective and not a fucking neo-Nazi, right? And this guy wasn't a judge, but what I'm just saying is, it is important that you pay attention to who the fuck you're voting for and not just go in there, right, and just take the most familiar name that you know.
Or the name with the right letter next to it.
The name with the right letter next to it, or whatever it is. Because even if you don't know how it could impact you, it could, right? You're talking about someone who is in, if you're voting for it, then it's in your their jurisdiction has something to do with you.
Yep.
And you could very well be in front of them or be impacted by a decision that they make. And if you're willing to just willy-nilly go and vote for anybody, then I don't want to hear it when you get results that you don't like.
No, I've heard things like that 100 times in my life. You're like, I can't believe this is being done. I'm like, the person you voted for is the one who did it. So, and the other one that I always tee off on is when people are like, well, I don't vote because it's bullshit. Then don't complain when shit that people vote on comes back to hurt you.
And look, I'm learning now the number of my friends that have never voted. which I don't hold back, and to the point where I've had a couple people get mad at me. I'm like, well, I am also mad at you.
Yeah.
Because, like, look, we went to the same high school. I know you're college educated. Like, your view on this, right? Like, you can't sit there and fucking complain about the things that you're complaining about when you could absolutely impact it. And look, don't give me the my vote doesn't count, because these local votes, if you pay attention, a lot of time, especially in the Cleveland area, with the way that this town is segregated and divided, this shit is close. Those votes do fucking matter, and it's worth kind of getting in arguments with people over.
Right, especially when they're really politically opinionated.
Exactly. And also, I don't care who you vote for, but you need to vote for someone. And my strong suggestion is you pay attention to who the fuck it is that you're voting for.
Agreed. All right, do we want to talk Diddy? He's not on the board, but...
Yeah, I mean, we need to, because there is a lot there. He's being accused of everything from sex trafficking to pedophilia and child abuse and sexual harassment, sexual assault. It's interesting that he hasn't been arrested yet. I know he was raided by the feds at multiple locations. So he hasn't, to be fair, he hasn't been charged with anything yet. There are a number of people who have sued him for various very gross allegations. There are all sorts of rumors about sex tapes and videotapes and, different celebrities coming out with stories about how they avoided Diddy, or they, now it's this, it was this big, apparently not well kept secret about how, sketchy he was. Even his son got charged or is being accused of some sort of sexual assault. So it shouldn't be taken lightly. I will note that they did find cases of Cambodian breast milk in his basement, and that is actually true.
Oh, come on.
Jim,
that's got to be a joke.
Okay.
Hold on. Come on.
TMZ reported it, and you may have your beefs with TMZ about them being scummy, but those motherfuckers...
They're scummy, but they don't make shit up because they can't.
So... TMZ's telling me they found cases of Cambodian breast milk in his basement.
If that's actually true, I mean, then Dave Chappelle is more of a genius than I thought.
Right. Like, I mean,
or was that a thing?
I don't know. Listen, I wasn't a huge Diddy fan or follower, and I'm not, trying to distance myself. I just wasn't. He didn't really make music, right? Like, he had other artists. There were plenty of people on Bad Boy that I listened to. I think he had... Jermaine Dupri had Jagged Edge, and so once the group 112, they were kind of like a black R&B boy band. They were Bad Boy, and I liked 112. I liked Puffy or Biggie, Black Rob, Mace. Like, those guys were all Bad Boy artists at one point in time. Craig Mack, and oddly enough, man, all came to really bad ending. Like, Craig Mack, really bad shape. Black Rob is dead. Shine went to prison, but is now like the president of what is that island?
I'm not going to be able to.
No. He's from Belize.
Okay.
Shine was a guy who had a very deep voice that people say kind of reminded people of the Notorious Big, and then he did something weird and ended up going to jail for a while. Then he got out of jail, and now he's literally the president of Belize or some shit like that. It's weird.
That's pretty weird.
But a lot of people who were on the Bad Boy record label really had fucked up endings. Mace was a Bad Boy guy, but he got out, and everybody made fun of him because he left hip hop and he went and became a pastor, and then recently has sort of resurfaced, but. He did an interview and was like, look, everybody clowned me because I left and I found God, but I avoided all this shit, right? Like, you see everything that's happening now. Like, he's like, that was obvious back in the late 90s and the 2000s that Diddy had lost his fucking mind, right? Which is part of the reason why he got out. So, I was never a huge Diddy fan. Like I said, I follow plenty of people that, that he was near and in his orbit, but this shit is crazy.
Yeah, I've only known what I happen to pick up on Sirius XM news channels, but it sounds like this could be pretty wide-reaching. And
what's curious to me is why is he even still in the country? Right? I mean, I
wonder if they've made sure he can't leave the country. But, usually put him on a list. If you're P. Diddy, it's probably pretty hard to.
I don't know, man.
All right,
get on a boat.
Get on a boat. You mean to tell me go to Cuba and then?
Yeah, just get on a boat, go somewhere where they'll let you. You got to make sure though you don't go to a country that's totally against you in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know, but it's the Cambodian breast thing though. I don't know if that was like if people knew that was a thing and Dave Chappelle brought it to light, or if it was kind of a joke and then Diddy being weird just was like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna go get some Cambodian breast milk and then put it in my baby. But they found cases of it, so I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
I'm gonna not even speculate. Like, how do you identify the source of origin? And I'm sure it can be done.
You're a chemist.
I'm not a chemist. I'm a chemical engineer.
Same difference.
It's not the same difference.
You mean to tell me you can rig a test to figure out the origins of some titty milk?
Moving on, we got to wrap this up fairly soon. The men's and women's NCAA championships are this week. South Carolina plays Iowa.
Okay, you are underselling this. The women's Final Four is here in Cleveland.
Okay, fair.
It actually has been a really cool weekend with the ladies here. We had, a couple, South Carolina is just kind of powering through this thing.
Right.
Iowa and UConn had a crazy game Friday night. That ended with some controversy with a bad call. A bad call that was made. I mean, I think it was a moving screen, but do you make that call in the last seconds? I don't know. It was a good game. And so we'll see how it shakes out, but that's happening here in Cleveland. The Stars have come out for it. We saw all sorts of celebrities at the game. What I love to see is that I'm going to say the Q. It's not the Q. The Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Romo Fijo.
Correct.
The Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse was packed for the game.
Yeah.
And that's good. Listen, it's good.
And the bars that I was in had the game on, and people were glued to it.
Yeah, I mean, I bet the game. I bet the under, and I bet UConn plus 6. I think.
So you won.
I did win. I think I bet $15, and I think I won like 60 or something like that. But it's
by the way, these girls are fucking good. I mean, you watch these girls just sit back and drain it from 25 feet. That's
Caitlin Clark will literally shoot from anywhere.
Yes.
And she don't give a fuck about getting her feet under her. She just fires it, which is wild. And, she's usually not far off. It's either going in
she scores
or
a lot.
And what's crazy is that the girl from UConn, Paige, oh, my God, I can't think of her last name.
I can't either, I'm sorry.
I want to say Buckler. Either way, if you look at it from a scoring standpoint, she would be right there with Caitlin Clark in terms of all-time scoring leader, but she got injured a year or two ago and set out an entire season, so she loses out on that. But then there's the other girl, the girl from USC, little Juju, who, if she stays on the pace that she's on, then she could push relatively far past Caitlin Clark's all-time record scoring numbers. So it's fun to see for these girls. I'm glad. It was always sort of this sort of awkward thing. I don't know, man. Something about it just wasn't clicking, and then all of a sudden now it is, and it's good to see. Now there's still men that are upset about it for some reason, right? They're mad that women are getting all this goddamn attention and they can't dunk, so it's not the same. But it's I don't know. I didn't have any problem watching that game. Yeah, I mean, like there was plenty of excitement, plenty of stuff. Look, and at the end of the day, I bet on it and won money. So why am I mad?
Right, but I would say that this, and maybe it's been this way more than people like me and others who appreciate. But these are teams are playing up tempo basketball. It's not methodical, old school. It is run and gun.
Well, what's funny is that I'm screaming and yelling at them, like, slow it down, girls, slow it down, right? These girls are just fucking, because I bet the under, right? And they're just fucking firing threes. I'm like, God damn it, stop shooting.
And stop draining them from 25
right,
feet.
Like not only stop shooting, but you keep making them. You are killing me right now. And, now some people are saying, like, well, it's because the men aren't very good. And I would argue, like, the men are good. I don't think you're seeing any sort of drop-off in men. I just think that the girls' game is being spotlighted, and people are now paying attention. They're like, look, these girls can ball. I don't think it's new, right? Because, Gino Auriemma has had the UConn women at the top of the sport for 30 years, right? Pat Summit, yep. Who, God rest her soul, had those Tennessee women playing at an insanely high level. Right, like like Gino Auriemma and Pat Summit, basically. I mean, they've got a lot of responsibility for why there is even a WNBA, because they produced these female players that were so fucking good that you had to do something with them to continue their careers, other than having them go to Europe.
Right.
And so, so now we're starting to see this game highlighted, and it's a different game than the men.
Sure.
Right, but that's okay, and now we're learning that there's room for both at the table, at least in college. I don't know. It would take another big leap to sort of get the WNBA, more viable.
Right.
Right, and I don't. It's never going. I don't know. But here's the deal: the women's NCAA tournament has now is it on par with the men? Not quite, but it's pretty damn close. Right?
Yeah, I said on Facebook, responding to a friend, that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark had a Larry Bird, Magic Johnson vibe to it. These two absolute star players going head-to-head. Unfortunately, in the Elite Eight, and not the Final Four.
Not the Final Four or the championship game. But still, I mean, it was a great game. And then Iowa plays UConn with another back-to-back great game. And I think South Carolina is going to roll Iowa, probably by 8-10 points. But still probably be a good game. And, it just, at the end of the day, it's fun. Now, the one thing I didn't like, going back to Iowa and LSU, and I didn't like it came out of your black thought leaders and your black community, people who decided that they were going to cheer against Caitlin Clark because the media gave her too much attention because she was white. So they're going to cheer for LSU. And they're only cheering for the LSU players because they didn't like Kim Mulkey because she's a conservative. And so I'm like, why are you doing this? Right? Like, can we just enjoy the game? Like, you really got to make this about race, white, black, politics, right? Just, you forever, you talk about equality and women, but like you finally get this thing that is highlighting the thing that you have been banging the drum for 50 fucking years, and then you shit on it because the white girl is getting too much attention by the media. Not her choice, by the way. Caitlin Clark isn't the one who's promoting herself, right? She goes out and she plays hard, and she's really good. And so blame ESPN, blame Fox Sports, blame whoever for constantly hyping her up, but if it elevates the game, why are you mad at her? So much so that as much as you don't like Kim Mulkey, and they just released an article on Kim Mulkey basically telling you that she's a garbage human, right? But you're still going to root for her team because you're going to root against the other girl because you don't like the way that she's being promoted because she's white, right? So you have to separate the coach from the team. Like, that's insane to me, right? That it went down that road. But you could see, like, it was all over social media how people were thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely people I saw at the neighborhood bar that were cheering for Caitlin Clark, and I would say her being white probably made them more into it. But what I wanted to get back to is you're saying that the WNBA has got a lot of room to catch up. getting superstars out of college into the WNBA gets people interested. The people who are Caitlin Clark fans,
there have been plenty of
Leslie. I'm not saying there have been great players, but they have not gotten this kind of attention. And now people are saying, "Oh, I am an Angel Reese fan. I'm a Gabby or Caitlin Clark fan," and they might want to continue. I agree. There's been plenty of talent, but there's never been this level of interest. And if you want to carry, and that's kind of why I made the Larry Bird.
But I think you have to distinguish that, right? I mean, because to say that there haven't been, superstars because when I think of a superstar player, I think of their skill, their ability.
Sure.
Right, and not necessarily the hype around them, right? Like, even though superstar means that you're getting that sort of hype, like, I mean, oh my God, who's the, oh my God, she's been playing forever. Oh my God.
Sue Bird?
No, not Sue Bird. Lisa?
Lisa Leslie?
Not Lisa Leslie. Short girl, long dark hair. Oh God, it'll come to me. Anyway,
perfect.
That's not because she's not a superstar. It's just because I played football and I've taken a lot of hits to the head. But you've had some. I mean, even a Brittany Griner, right? And like some of these like other girls over the even like Lisa Lobo, right?
Right.
Just she was a big girl that played at UConn under Gino Auriemma. Even going back to Cheryl Miller, right? I mean, Cheryl Miller,
one of the all-time greats.
Like one of the all-time greats in basketball, just in general, right?
Yeah.
Because
her brother used to say
Reggie Miller couldn't beat her,
right? Until he outgrew her by 4 inches, and then I've heard them talk about it. Once he got bigger than her, and she couldn't dipsy doodle and not get swatted.
Even like the last interview I heard is that Cheryl Miller has beat Reggie Miller as an adult, right, in games. Like she can't do it all the time, but she's got that's how good Cheryl Miller is, and I think she probably is one of the more underrated, great all-time great athletes because Cheryl Miller put 100 up on a team, right? 100.
I've forgotten that,
right? That's crazy. So we've seen some really amazing talent come through. But to your point, it hasn't been highlighted and celebrated like this. So is the next step of women's sports, women's basketball, seeing these women go from college and then following them in the WNBA? Interesting thing about Caitlin Clark, Ice Cube and his Big 3 league offered her $5 million to come and play in their league. That, to me, is awesome, kind of, if you're Caitlin Clark, but it has a very Herschel Walker, USFL, Donald Trump feel to it, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, if she can go to a 3-on-3 men's league and be a good player, that would be making a huge statement. But if she gets bounced around just physically,
I'm sure she's probably going to go to the WNBA, and not for any other reason than to help the WNBA,
right?
Right. But I mean, $5 million is a lot to turn down.
Sure is.
When your max salary in the WNBA is probably going to be 70.
Right, but she's going to get a whole bunch of endorsements. Now I don't know if they'll get to $5 million, but it wouldn't shock me if they do.
Sure, but she's going to get those same endorsements with the Big 3. So
I don't know. Do you think so?
Because when she leaves, she don't even have to leave Iowa anymore. That's the beauty of it.
She's doing the NIL thing.
She's getting endorsements right now just for waking up in the morning.
Right.
So those are going to come. The question is then, which one is going to supplement your income? The WNBA or yay? I don't know. And hopefully you listen to Cube enough to understand to get the reference. And if you don't, then shame on you. But I think the right answer is go to the WNBA, and you're going to be supported by the league, which means you'll probably be able to get you should be able to get more endorsements through the WNBA. I'm sure she'll get, or if she doesn't already have, a shoe deal with Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, somebody, and then some other weird endorsement that'll be like, oh, okay, that's Caitlin Clark advertising Downy dryer sheets, but. Yeah, I mean, but either way, I think it is good for women's sports to see this. The question is, what is the next step? Angel Reese already declared that she's going to the WNBA. I'm wondering if, we probably won't hear anything from Caitlin Clark until she's out of the tournament, what her plans are, but I suspect that'll be also going to the WNBA. And the question is, are we going to watch when they get there?
Right.
I don't know.
And I would say that I think the Sports Centers and the Fox News is when Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese face each other in the WNBA, that will be a storyline.
Yeah.
It
was already a storyline when they were in college, right?
Right. But I'm saying the same didn't happen for the other stars you named.
Yes. Yeah. We may look back and say that, Caitlin Clark Angel Reese rivalry is what really started the upward trend and swing of momentum for both the NCAA women and the WNBA. Frankly, Bird and Johnson. Yeah, no, I get it. I just, we shall see.
All right, we got to wrap this up. I want to melt down about Stefon Diggs, but we don't have enough time for that. So we can do that another time.
We got traded to the Texans.
Yeah, traded to the Texans for a pick next year. And you were talking about idiots on the internet. Bills fans are certainly no exception. And the number of people are saying we're better off without Stefon Diggs. No, we are not. He might be a pain in the ass. Management might have been sick and tired of his, being in social media. I actually put more on our senior brass, on Brandon Bean. If what he's doing on social media annoys you and you're just fucking ignore it. If he's being a jerk, ignore him. And when football stuff starts happening, hopefully he shows up and wants to play ball. If not, do something then. Or if you make a deal, make a deal. But I heard that they took the first deal that came across their table. You're shopping a stud receiver.
Yeah, I wouldn't put much into that information just because that trade was complex enough where I don't think it happened over a phone call within an hour, right? That felt like a trade that they took some time to put together. I mean, you're talking about a trade from a different team next year, multiple picks, a player. No, I don't think that was thrown together in an hour. I think that had been a day or two in the works, which I think Stefon Diggs had a sense that something was coming, which is why you got the social media antics that you got the night before. And then I would argue that a lot of, especially NFL coaches and front offices, are too hypersensitive about what this guy's a distraction because he does stuff on social media, and then we got asked a question about it, so that's a distraction.
Right.
Right? I've been dealing with that since I was in fucking high school, right? Coaches telling you what a distraction is. I'm sorry, I can go fucking finger bang my girlfriend and still go score a fucking touchdown in a game. Right? Girls are a distraction. Everything is a distraction if it's not football. I'm sorry, football is not 24/7, dickbag. Right? I could say that now that I'm not playing, but it still applies in the NFL. So this whole idea that, Stefon Diggs tweeted stuff that we didn't like, so we have to trade him. You're stupid then. Sorry. Right? The Bills are not better. They're not a better team. You lost Gabe Davis. You lost Stefon Diggs. Right? You lost too many guys on defense. The Bills did not get better by any stretch of the imagination this offseason. And part of it is to that ego that drives a lot of these coaches and GMs. Right? This guy said something I didn't like.
Right.
Well, he's a problem. No, you're the problem. Because you're a fucking child that just happens to have a multi-million-dollar job that, has a huge impact in the NFL. But, that's ultimately what it is. I got high school coaches, right, that coach at, that work out with me, and they talk about, Tommy was out doing this, blah, 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 it was a distraction. You're here whining like a little bitch about what a high school kid did. You're distracted, right? Stop. Right? Who the fuck cares? And it's so aggravating, right? I had coaches who, because I got told that me having a night class, right, that meant I had to leave practice 20 minutes early while we were practicing fucking field goal attempts was a distraction to the team, right? I'm not even on this particular fucking unit, and I'm sorry I'm going to this class that I need to graduate from school, which is why I'm here. Yes, no? Maybe? Right? That's the sort of thing, right? Everything is a fucking distraction. I'm sorry, Stefon Diggs, his tweets weren't a distraction. If you want to say that him yelling at Josh Allen during games about getting the ball was problematic, okay, fine, right? But if whenever they go to the, social media actions, now if he's saying things that are blatantly, racist or insane
or insulting the fan base,
right? Then okay, fine, you got to reel a guy in. But Stefon Diggs saying like, look, my value is high, and if you get rid of me, Josh Allen is going to have a problem. I'm not. Right. I refuse to believe that's why they traded him.
All right, we got to wrap this up because I got a plane to catch.
You got to go to Costco.
And I got a plane to catch later. We'll figure out the logistics. We are Advocacy Congress on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for listening, and we're done.